Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Omniverse of Nick and part 14 to the Mcqueen Walking Dead story. I'm your host, Nick, and like always, before we begin, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick channel, and comment your favorite part or parts of ongoing or past stories, as well as future recommendations for what-ifs and general discussion that you might happen to see on a channel in the future. With all that out of the way, let's get into today's episode, because within this 14 minutes, we're going to be diving into the governor's abrupt ending in a very, very awesome and very unexpected in a lot of ways. Let's get into it. So, Rick and Herschel are greeted by Mcqueen, who came from the edge of the farm and came to them to tell them that they have 3 new and possibly more new guests arriving here. And before they even get to meet the new people, Eugene, he can't help himself. And in a very hilarious and very Eugene way, he just starts admiring Mcqueen and almost thinking that he's dead and in heaven or something, because he's staring at this would make Eugene literally like question his entire existence on science and his field of view, which would be awesome for him. And remember Mcqueen of Jenner, who was a big helping hand in his design ever since Rick saved him. But Merle cuts all of that short, even though he is just as impressed with these guys' new reaction and everything like that, to ask all of them, what are they doing here? And how did they get here? And Abraham and them are like, oh yeah, the reason. We gotta get to that part. So Abraham has to basically sum up everything that they've been through and going to Woodbury, meeting the governor, and basically getting kicked out and having basically all of their people go to their side to go to Washington, but they backtracked a long ways, 1,000% against Abraham's better judgment, because they're being tracked by the governor and several of his men, thanks to him and Rosita and Eugene all deducing it. Herschel and then Rick, mainly Herschel, yell and lambast Abraham and them for basically bringing danger to their farm. And yeah, Washington and everything and what they've gone through, that's something that they pay more attention to, but there's still a factor. They don't know how many people could be coming to the farm right now. But Tyrese says it's really their fault. And then Tyrese, Sasha, and all them who went along make themselves known and say it's really their fault. They're the ones who went along when they could have just stayed at Woodbury, but the prospect of saving the world was too much of a window of opportunity to pass up. So, I mean, it was a good opportunity, but he still feels like it's more their fault. But Abraham says, no, it's not their fault, and he will take a share of the blame. Abraham's not opposed to that, but he is willing to make a deal with them. If they can keep them and all the people that they have with them out of the hair of the governor when and if they get to the farm here, he will take them on the trip to Washington and ensure that nothing happens to the farm or anybody here. He will promise that. And Eugene, he really wants everybody to go along with this plan, mainly because now he is more invigorated to keep his lie hidden because of Mcqueen's existence. This is Eugene's like dream come true. And Herschel, he asks Rick and everybody else what they should do, and Rick agrees. Just so long as it's not that many men and they can deal with it, because, I mean, they got an armored up farm and a lot more people. So if it's a simple matter, it's not that big a deal anyway. It's just, it was a minor concern at first because they don't know what they're dealing with. But they soon know. Carr rolls up to the farm, having definitely tracked them, with the governor, Martinez, Allen, and Schumpert, who keeps in the car, all arriving. So it's just 4 men. They could easily take them down. And what's better than going up against 4 men? Going up against 4 men with 4 men! Rick, Herschel, Daryl, and Merle all confront these 4 of the governor's troops and himself at the front of the farm. Herschel demands to know, in a very calm and sort of stern manner, what these people are doing on his land. And the governor, he wanted to know who the guy was that owned this land anyway, so, Herschel just did the work for him. And is like, oh, this is your land. And the governor introduces himself in a very governor-like way and says that they tracked a truck full of 3 people who kidnapped people from his town. This is once again the governor lying, because even before he lost his eye and went crazy, he still lied, obviously. He killed the military guys and lied to Michonne's face and everything. We know about this, I don't know why I'm explaining it. And demands to know where they are and where his people are. But Rick says he doesn't know who these people are or anything like that, and they have lived on this farm for quite a while and have seen no one. These guys are the first, but the governor calls instant BS because the truck is here. They see the truck, so Rick can't just hide that. So he once again asks where are they and if he and his 2 men here can search the farm. And Herschel, now sensing that their little trick is starting to fall apart and the governor not being the fool that they're trying to take him for, says, no, you most certainly may not, and he says to leave the farm at once. But the governor says, unfortunately, that's not an option. And it all goes downhill from here. Sort of. The governor, Martinez, and Allen all draw their guns, showing that any sort of diversion or plan or anything like that's out the window at this point. Merle is the only one to raise his gun in retaliation to fight. But then he gets shot straight in the chest and falls to the ground. What dramatic irony. He died the same way like in the canon story, except way different. Yeah, everyone is shocked by this because this was instant and also a much different governor. And everybody is just like, that just happened. This guy just killed Merle. Everyone is in shock, and this shows that the governor, at this point, to us and to the story people, this guy means business now. Daryl is enraged at this and is almost tempted to go and kill the governor and his men, but Rick yells at him, literally in front of everybody, to stand down. And he is willing to share the location of them and the people and whatever to the governor on one condition. Nobody else dies and nobody takes anything from everybody and they're all good. But sensing that this might be some sort of trick, the governor tells Martinez to draw his weapon towards Rick, Daryl, and Herschel to make sure they don't move a muscle, while the governor and Allen go to search the barn. And in a very awesome, dramatic, and completely out of this world moment, Lightning McQueen crashes through the side of the barn, drifting straight towards the governor and Allen, pulls out his machine gun turret on the top of his roof, and kills Allen and the governor in a swift and awesome dramatic moment. Martinez just looks onward, so shocked that not only did he just see a talking, sentient car, but it killed his leader and one of his friends, sort of. Herschel now looks dead at Martinez and Shumpert, who's still in the car, now cowering in fear, to get off his land, or the same thing is going to happen to the two of them. And Rick draws his gun, everybody else would, in response, showing that there's definitely way too many people for them to take on, even if the governor and Allen had not been shot just now. Shumpert tells Martinez they can't do anything here, And honestly, they should either just go back to Woodbury or join up with them to go to Washington. Anything's better than fighting them and dying. Martinez sits on this, and yeah, there really isn't another alternative. And he actually decides that he wants to go to Washington if they'll trust him and Schumbert here. They didn't want to go along with most of the governor's routine anyway. They just lived in Woodbury. And Abraham, after some talking and thinking about it, Martinez and Schumbert are accepted, but very reluctantly given what just happened. And Abraham says, now that all of this is done and over with, he wants to get to Washington, especially with Mcqueen and everybody here on the farm. This is a big group to take to Washington, but it is worth it. Rick and Mcqueen are down. And Eugene, like I said, he is determined to keep his lie a secret because of Mcqueen basically fulfilling any kind of dream or breaking of science that Eugene would have. Like I said multiple times, this would be big for Eugene. And Abraham can see this, and he just smiles at this, seeing Eugene like perked up for the first time since he met him. And Abraham asks everybody if they've got everybody in order and ready to go. Martinez, his eyes go wide. And everybody thinks like the governor or more men are around, kind of a Frieza Saga moment. But he realizes Milton, he's still at Woodbury with the rest of their people. And now they're pretty much leaderless except for Milton. So Martinez, even though they want to go to Washington, he just says that him and Schumbert are going to go back to Woodbury and tell Milton about everything that happened. And they'll gather everybody up from Woodbury, and then they'll go and meet Abraham and everybody else there at Washington. And Abraham says that's a good enough idea, and they go their separate ways. With that, everybody is pretty much ready to go, except for one, Daryl. He is mourning the loss of Merle, who, by the way, did die in a very canon-like way, except way different, and kind of sooner, yet not sooner. But Carol and everybody else would comfort him, and Herschel would say that they're not only doing this for themselves, Mcqueen, or the farm anymore, they'll do it in memory of Merle, who actually did more in the story, just like my Merle living instead of Daryl thing, except way less, and because he lived less of a time. So even though Herschel doesn't want to leave the farm, they're doing it because of all the things that I just stated. So everyone in Mcqueen and in the truck pile on, and they drive towards Washington. And Martinez and Schumbert return to Woodbury, where Milton still remains the leader of everyone still present. But will the discovery of the governor's room cause Milton and everybody else to still stay there? Will Martinez and Schumbert find everybody still there? Or will they have all left because of Milton's grave suspicions? And if Martinez and Schumbert don't find them there, where will they go? And where will Milton and everybody go? But all these questions will be answered later and next time. What do you guys think will happen next? How did you like this episode? And what is your favorite part so far? With all that out of the way, guys, be sure as always to smash the like button, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, and comment your favorite part or parts of ongoing or past stories, as well as future recommendations for what-ifs and general discussion that you might see happen on the channel in the future. With all that out of the way, I hope you really enjoyed this episode, because I hate to be a broken record, but we're nearing the middle, if not kind of ending point, to an epic story.